As you definitely know, this season, Chapter 5, Season 3, has been one of the most controversial and divided seasons in Fortnite history. The community has been in shambles, so today, I wanted to get a gauge of where the community's at, because our community over here on this little wonderful corner of the internet typically thinks nice and rationally, and we always love to see that. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels, and welcome back to the Reply Room, everybody, where I ask you guys to jump into the Discord server, which, by the way, if you are new here, pin comment description down below. We would love to have you here, and I ask you guys a question, statement, and today this is what I had to ask. Give me your thoughts on all of the drama surrounding the season. Nothing too specific, just want to hear voices from the community, just to see, like I said, where everybody's at. And we had some amazing responses. There are a couple things that I left out. I'm recording this intro actually after I recorded the rest of the video, because there were a couple people that I had to leave out because some people were saying the same thing, so sorry, first come, first serve. I really appreciate you taking the time to write it, but not everybody, unfortunately, has been included in this video. Let's get to it, guys. The Fortnite community should stop arguing, and I'm tired of seeing competitive and casual arguing. Instead, the entire community should push for Epic to separate loot pools, because both sides are in the wrong. Hey, you know what? I don't hate that. Hey, if you can get the two communities to love each other, I am so here for that. Personally, I can see the argument on both sides. However, I think this specific instance, I personally feel like the competitive community, at least, is the loud minority on social media, completely stepped over their boundaries with this particular case. The biggest issue I have with the competitive community at the moment is they claim they want consistently when playing ranked or tournaments, so that is their overall skill level isn't diminished whenever they release a new item. However, they completely forget the fact that they are playing Fortnite, a game which, since BR first released, has been all about change, chasing trends, and adding new wacky features to spice up the game and make it feel different so that it doesn't get boring. While I understand their complaints, they have to remember that Fortnite is not built as strongly for a competitive scene such as games like Dota 2 or CSGO. The game is constantly adapting and trying new things. However, I will agree that cars should not be in competitive, at least, and not how they were at launch, but I understand why Epic does this to help bridge a gap between casuals and competitive so that new players can hop on the comp more easily without getting confused. However, personally, the way I would handle it is to leave any new mechanic or weapon out of competitive for the first week after launch of the season. Competitive players can test these new weapons in public games or created for the first week of a season, then give Epic feedback about what items they'd like to see in competitive. I want to pause there because that's actually a good idea. I've never even thought of that before. It's a really good idea. Anyways, however, if the competitive community wanted something nerfed or changed to go in competitive, Epic must change things like damage numbers, fire rate, etc. for any weapons or vehicles being added to competitive, but those same stats do not apply to the weapon in casual games. I've noticed that the competitive community has a habit of nerfing items to the ground they don't even like after their complaints have been resolved, and this problem could be an issue for Epic in the future, especially with the Marvel season coming. A lot of people will return in Season 4 for the Marvel items, but will not stick around if they see no point in using them, if they're just going to be nerfed into the ground, and then their only viable option is another shotgun or SMG meta we've had for so many seasons at this point. As for my complaint to the casuals, you can't just tell the competitive community to adapt to the new meta. A lot of these players are having to focus and prioritize so many things during a match, a lot more than any casual player would, and building is honestly just muscle memory for any competitive player at this point. Competitive players got to where they are today by being good, and adaptation to previous metas perhaps. This meta is just a little too much for them. And as for the competitive community, do not attack casuals for enjoying the season or believing that you have a moral high ground because you are a more skilled player than others. Fortnite has been adapting to its gameplay for 7 years ongoing at this point and will never change how the game is built on innovation. And sometimes that means we get new metas, some which you may not like, and that's okay, but attacking those who do enjoy the meta is not the correct way to go about things. Voice your opinions and give advice to Epic on what you'd like to see changed or fixed about the game. But finally, Epic needs to separate loot pools for casual and competitive scenes and give separate stats to items in both casual and competitive to keep both sides happy. Both sides have expressed their opinions plenty, but it is now up to Epic to act on these suggestions and complaints. I wish I could add to that. That was extremely well said. Everything that you said, I completely agree with. The only thing that really stands out to something that I've actually never talked about before was the idea to release a weapon and give the competitive players a chance to play with it in creative, just not have it. I will sit here until the end of time and talk about how I don't get that what Epic is doing outweighs the problems with not separating the loot pools right now. It needs to be done, but what I loved about this post is, and this is something that I believe that everybody needs to kind of adapt in their own mindset, is both sides do have their valid criticisms. I would say the competitive side definitely overstepped more so this season, but their complaints are also understandable. Let's continue on to a post by Don. What is the reason for people's decline of interest in Fortnite and the declining player numbers? Chapter 5's gameplay. What made Fortnite OG so good wasn't the simplicity, but rather the lack of bad features in the game. You know what? That's actually a very interesting take, because I keep meaning to make a video. I won't talk about this for long. I keep meaning to make a video on the idea of everybody starts talking about simplicity. I don't think that necessarily has much to do with it, but interesting. Okay, many players would be willing to have bare bones experience rather than dealing with henchmen blasting out our eardrums, DMRs, obligatory bad pump shotgun clone number 5, NPCs, loot island medallions, and bullet drop. This isn't saying newer features are bad, but rather a lot of bad features tend to be newer. If things like shakedowns, tornadoes, and clombos made their return and bullet drop didn't happen, then I think the sentiment to the chapter's gameplay would be a lot less negative. Lack of replayability. I'm going to say something that might be controversial, but is the truth. It doesn't matter if the day 1 update drops 3 new modes, a new island, and a new loot pool. If there's no new weekly updates and proper teasing for new content, then it's going to burn out the players, and it's going to feel de-incentivizing to play after 2 weeks. I don't know if I agree with that part, but we're going to continue on, because if the game is that good, then yeah, you might be right. Okay, that's a conversation for another time, though. And this isn't a jab to Crave 2.0, but LTMs brought a reason to play the game because they offered many different experiences that people are willing to try. Grinding. This is a rather minor, but people don't want to grind it. If weekly challenges can't give you half a level while trying to split their attention into 4 different modes, it's likely causing player burnout. Fortnite's a social game, and when one friend leaves, it leaves other friends to have less value in playing in the game, causing them to be less invested in it. Gonna say it right here, not having a scheduled event and barely even advertising the season won't help players getting into the game. Ranked and casual just need to be separate already. Spoiling. Between the skin release and the roadmap league, I can only imagine that some players don't need to play the game because they already know what happens next, so why bother keeping up? That is something that people don't talk about enough. Spoiling and leaks are a huge problem with people really getting into Fortnite right now. Fortnite's mentality. We don't see LTMs return because Epic is more focused on UAFN. This isn't saying UAFN is bad, albeit it has years to go, but we can't have LTMs while we have to wait for possibly a few more years for Unreal Engine to have proper features and hope that it's accessible enough that an environment will change and grow out of the red versus blue ranked pit era. And LTMs can't share the spotlight when it's something that people like anyways. This isn't complaining about UAFN, but Fortnite's mentality around it. Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't understand why we can't have them. Ranked and casual needs to be interlocked when it doesn't need to, because all Epic wants to do is have the two feel close to each other when it doesn't want to be. Don't get me wrong, if they want to do whatever to their, and I'm assuming it's game, anyways, final say and solutions, what caused Fortnite's player count to dip? Post Fortnite OG era where the gameplay deterred players and new modes that were out of the spotlight months ago, lack of LTMs and inconsistent release schedules without teasing new items, which ultimately impacts player reasons to get on the game, natural player burnout, which could have prevented, if anything, bad advertising when spoiling with content. What are the solutions? Let's continue on. Disperse content properly. If the 3 new game modes released one by one seasonally, and we had less content on launch but got weekly content releases, players would have a reason to continuously play the game and also bring back wild weeks. LTMs, just bring them back. If UFN is still unrefined and young for like 2 years and still needs many more years to get us out of this red versus blue area of creative, then LTMs can share the spotlight and can always share the spotlight while we see UEFN develop. That's something that I don't understand. It can't hurt to just have it. It doesn't hurt. I will die on that hill. Reassess what made the gameplay so loved in chapters 1 to 3. Bite the bullets and change the mentality a bit when there's no reason to die on the hills like this. I do know that retaining millions of players is good, but Fortnite has room to be doing better. You make some really good points on it. You make some points that I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but I can't argue with a lot of the problems with chapter 5 right now, and I thank you very much for taking the time to write all that out. Let's continue on. Don't know much about the drama, but so far it's validated my decision to continue to not play the game. I was very close to reinstalling the game and giving it a second chance, but as I suspected, less than a week into the season, they came out with an update that ruined everything. They always do stuff like that, and it's one of the many reasons I've quit the game. For the player count situation, a game doesn't just lose 3 million players overnight, nor does it lose 3 million players because of exams. It loses 3 million because the game isn't fun, and people wanted something different. As someone who hasn't played the game since Chapter 5 Season 1, I played the entirety of that season. I can confidently say I'm not playing anymore. It's just not Fortnite. It doesn't have Fortnite's art style, doesn't have Fortnite's weapons, it doesn't have Fortnite's spirit, it's not the same game. I lost all of the appeal it ever really had and became this boring basic shooter with Roblox mixed in. It's just not fun anymore, and I and many others have done with this game because of it. An OG-like mode, or even OG2 being a remixed Chapter 1 would almost certainly revive some interest, although the idea that it would bring everybody back is just not true. It would definitely bring some back, and it would be more effective than Chapter 2, but it already happened and people might just not care. I understand games need to change over time, but Chapter 3 and even partially Chapter 2 were good examples of how to naturally evolve and change the game while keeping the same feel. I'd argue that was the last time Fortnite felt like Fortnite. Chapter 4 was a huge step in the wrong direction, and the game just hasn't recovered since. Well, okay, there's definitely a lot to unpack there. I actually really disagree with this. Don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with hating this season or hating the way that Fortnite's going. There's a lot to dislike about Chapter 5, and if you want to take off, that's totally okay. I'm not talking about that, but I have been talking about this for a long time, guys. OG being a permanent game mode, and people are glazing, like in this comment right here, has been talking about how great Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, how that actually felt like Fortnite. Well, everything that everybody's saying about Chapter 5 right now, we've been hearing throughout the entirety of Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. They were just saying, oh, well, this isn't Fortnite. Oh, the Chrome isn't Fortnite. Oh, Spider-Man web shooters, that's not Fortnite. You know, we've been hearing so many of this stuff constantly repeated, and I understand that Chapter 5, and this is where, honestly, Chapter 5 is the only time where I kind of agree with that. The gunplay doesn't feel like Fortnite, but everybody seems to have a different definition of what Fortnite is. I see Fortnite as an ever-evolving game that is not afraid to try something new, just a wacky battle royale where you can kind of do some random things like rocket ride or play competitively. You can bounce around in ballers, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of what I feel like Fortnite is. And at the beginning of the season, they captured that feeling for me. So you could argue that this is Fortnite. In reality, I mean, it is Fortnite, but I understand Chapter 5 has to bring to this comment. It doesn't have, it's become a boring basic shooter with Roblox mixed in. That's kind of the direction that it's heading right now, and I understand that. But everybody just talks about how good the game used to be. Even in Chapter 1, everybody was crying and whining about the same exact things. The same exact things. And I don't you know what? I don't understand too why everybody has to always talk about just quitting or uninstalling. Why not just take a break? We know you'll probably be back, right? But again, if you want to take off from Fortnite, that's absolutely no problem with me. I mean, like, it wouldn't be right for me to just say, hey, you do it. That's not okay. You sit down and you play Fortnite. You know, everybody likes different things. Everybody just needs to take a break, but nothing wrong with hating the season. Maybe just come back next season. But ultimately, I do disagree with this post. Let's keep going. I don't get the drama. I love this season. You get to be overpowered and demolish people in cars. However, they can do the exact same thing back. It's so fun, and I don't even rage at all anymore when dying. However, getting chased all the time is very chaotic and can be a bit annoying. Also, the fists are so annoying. People use them to run away all the time, and it infuriates me. And then they slam down on me and kill me. Bosses are easy, too easy, and I love it. This season is so much fun. I'm enjoying it so much. I might even buy a car. And yes, Hope and Jonesy dialogue. Sorry if this isn't professional enough. I just wanted to comment what I think. Hey, that's what it's all about, man. Just to get the idea of what the community's feeling right now. I agree it does need story. So here's the problem with that. That's awesome that you get to be overpowered and demolish people and you're enjoying that, right? I'm enjoying that myself. But it's understandable that people aren't enjoying that. That's the problem. That's why I understand both sides of the competitive community and the casual community. I just need them to be separated, man, because we could love our pubs and competitive players could love their competitive game. It's so easy. Honestly, both sides are valid, but I really think they just need to make ranked have the same loophole as tournaments. Then hopefully competitive players will stop complaining since tournaments don't have cars. Yeah, it very well said. Nothing really to add to that one. I believe that the drama of the season is actually quite petty and really is a waste of time. Casual players are allowed to like what they want and to like casual players are allowed to like what they want to like, and if they like cars crashing around the map with explosions like me, then they should be able to have that. The competitive players have their own mode, and Fortnite can just separate the loopholes. There are also plenty of counters to the cars, so honestly, I don't see the point in complaining. If you can't comprehend getting hit by a car in a virtual game, then you need to seek help and play another game. Fortnite is a game. No need to tweet your heart out on Twitter to change a dev's mind. It makes sense to be mad, but just deal with it. I'm talking about you, Ninja. Anyways, that's just my thoughts on the matter. Yeah, like I said, I don't understand why people just don't take a break. I get it if you're a hard competitive player and you are actually working to make a living off of playing competitive games. Those people I understand, but just for regular people, I don't understand why everybody's just absolutely flipping out about it. Like, just play another game, take a break, do something else. It sucks that you don't love the season, but that's bound to happen. I'm sure everybody's had seasons that they don't like, right? But again, this whole problem could be fixed if they just separated the loopholes. The drama is pretty dumb. The point of the season is the cars. I'd rather them remove the cars than nerf them to the point where they're not worth using anymore. We've seen this before with the combat shotgun when it came back in Chapter 2, Season 4. It was basically useless in that time. The competitive people, I get the frustration. I really do, because it's their job to play the game. It's mine too. It's been said before, just have different loopholes and rules in ranked and pubs. If the cars are a problem in ranked, remove them from ranked. That seems to be too logical. And I really hate to be this guy, because I don't like hating on Epic Games. I respect them. I respect Tim Sweeney. He's built something absolutely fantastic. Donald Mustard, everything. So, but then I want to sit back and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's too easy for Epic Games. I hate to be, like, disrespectful towards them, but I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, the pros outweigh the one con. Epic has made a lot of changes to the game in the last few months. People in general are opposed to change, but it's especially worse in cases like the UI where it's objectively worse. That's a good point. This season was always going to be decisive shifting the focus of the gameplay from building to driving. I agree with both sides of the community on some points. I agree with the competitive players that the cars are bad for competitive, and saying just adapt is stupid. There's more to that, but I also agree with the casual player base wanting to keep them as it's something new and fun, which is something the game needs. They definitely should split the loot pool, putting more goofy, wacky items in BR, while more competitive focused items get added to ranked. However, in general, this season is fun and doesn't deserve nearly all the hate it gets. I also do not care for the people like Ninja's opinion. He's not a pro player, just a casual with the largest following. Players who do feel the same way of him are definitely justified for not liking the season, as it is very different from every past one. At the end of the day, games are made to be played for fun. If you don't enjoy it, just don't play it. Very easy. And I also think the casual competitive players dismiss other players' opinions too easily. Half the kids online don't know how to criticize nor handle criticism. Even you sometimes just dismiss arguments as people being NPCs. Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely do that, but I do like to believe that I take people's arguments into consideration the vast majority of the time. There's the problem where you can just tell when people, and think about it this way, okay? I do call a lot of people NPCs, but if you look around you, I would go as far to say 90% of people literally are NPCs. They don't think for themselves. And this is why I really, really respect this community so much. I really do, because how often do you see dialogue like this in the Fortnite community? You don't. You just see constantly people posting the exact same things over and over again. You see people watching Ninja and going, oh yeah, I should agree with that too. Like, literally most people in this world are NPCs. Just look around you a little bit more. But I do, you're right, I do dismiss a lot of people's arguments as NPCs, but I do not do that nearly as much as I take into people's considerations for the arguments like we've been doing throughout this entire video. I understand the argument, I disagree with it, or I agree with it, so it's a valid criticism, to be honest with you. But yeah, the problem is, like you were talking about, everybody just dismisses anybody's opinions too easily. The people who post and actually look for dialogue, and again, this is why I appreciate everybody over here, they don't actually want to talk. They just want to complain and want Epic Games to bend over and listen to them. They don't care what anybody else has to say, and they really just, they hate anybody who disagrees with them. That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. I don't understand why anybody can't have rational conversations anymore. So it's a little bit, it's a very nice post over here, Ragebait. Thank you very much for taking the time to write that. Let's move on to another post by Yes. This season was the killing blow for me. Like, it genuinely made me delete the game and move on to other games. And I believe many others, OGs, have done the same too. I'll state up for some quick reasons as to why. Now, this is what I'm talking about, Yes. This is what I'm talking about. Why not just leave the game and go play something else? Because eventually you'll be back. What's the point of uninstalling? I just never really understood that myself. Anyways, Fortnite fatigue. I've been playing since Chapter 1 Season 3. That's closely about 7 years ago. And when you have witnessed the peaks of the game, you've also witnessed the lowest of the game. Not to mention Epic trying to let go of BR with all their metaverse stuff. Man, it's just the fate of live service games from what I feel. How long can you truly go to make a game last for more than 5 years? Or could it just be too much Fortnite for my days? The season started off with the lowest player count of any season launch day in Fortnite's history, mainly because it's a Season 3, which is released during the busiest time of the player base, finals for enemy students, and not to mention how badly Chapter 5 has been handled, a topic to be discussed over another day perhaps. Don't get me wrong, going Mad Max is the best feeling, but man did they fumble with the cars being so OP that the competitive community just kept spamming and begging for a nerf. The season was built around cars. What's the point of the season if you literally nerf them? This just makes up for a bad idea that someone thought would work well at Epic HQ. For me, the game died when Chapter 4 ended. It's just a cycle that old players would hate the new season, yet new players who have never witnessed the peaks of the game would love it. It's a shame to see its downfall, but at the end, it could just be a game that isn't built like the old BR. They're trying to get the future out of Fortnite, and I respect that effort. Now, I do disagree with you that Fortnite's on the decline. I think that even if, like, well, obviously they're on just a little bit of a decline, but they've always brought players back. Fortnite's not going anywhere. If people have been saying the same thing since Chapter 1 Season 5, I've always said that the game is absolutely going nowhere. They're just having bad seasons. Take a look at all the other bad seasons. We've heard the same things in Wilds. We've heard the same things in Vibin and so many other seasons. Like, it's just a bad season in some people's eyes. Next season with the Marvel season, if that's good, we're not going to hear about any of this, to be honest with you. But like I said, man, if you're burnt out, if you don't like the direction of the game going, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. And all I can say is, I hope to see you soon. As a competitive player, we love when the loot pool changes every season. The meta changes and everyone has to adapt, but when an item like Nitro makes building useless, isn't unfair to everyone in the map, is driving around in super fast armored vehicles, then we want this type of stuff out of ranked so we can have our strategy-based meta with whatever weapons are in. And I love the cars, and them being in pubs is absolutely fine and can be a blast for most of us. I just want to be able to play ranked and have a normal fight every once in a while and not have to car fight all season. Also, I'd like to say that I see a ton of casuals acting like we're ruining the season and we're not adapting this stuff. It's not the comp players that can't adapt, it's the opposite. Comp players adapt when something's broken and fights are one-sided for all the fights are, or all the fights are car fights, or it's not enjoyable for us. And with higher elo lobbies, elimination lobbies, I'm guessing what that means. I'm sorry if I'm just misunderstanding that competitive players have, it's too much harder to enjoy. In your video, you mentioned how sweats want cars out of pubs. Also, and I've only heard one competitive player say that, and I thought it was pretty dumb, and players like Ninja are more of the reasons cars will get and did get nerfed. Competitive players want their game mode for more fun for them without the chaos and of car fights all game. Overall, I think the season is pretty fun. With the last update, it makes the game still feel chaotic, but for me, my cars are getting blown up more often, and I can fight others in the cars a bit easier. There's nothing wrong with what you said over there. There's absolutely nothing wrong, and there's, like I've talked about my other videos too, that the vast majority of the competitive community, the vast majority, just want ranked change. The problem that I have, and for some reason people act like this doesn't exist, where you do see the posts everywhere, I see it in my YouTube comments where, and more so I'm seeing where, oh my god, you're making this up. I wouldn't do that, honestly. I would hope that you guys have had that much respect for me from the times that I've been making videos over the years, where you do see the competitive players where it's like, well, they should be taken out of pubs too, because sometimes I just want to relax in pubs. That happens, that is said. Like I've also said, that is a very, very small, loud minority of competitive players. The vast majority of the competitive community just wants rank change just like this post does, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Again, Epic Games, we need to split the loot pools. I've never really been a 100% serious Fortnite gamer like others, but as much as I enjoyed the cars, I felt like it was bound that they're gonna nerf them. They did a little too much in the gameplay standpoint, but I get that's what the season's about. I feel they did nerf a bit much, kind of messing with the fun before. I feel like they could have added more and different counters other than nerfs like this, but yeah, I mean, I saw it coming as well. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in a video at the beginning of the season where it was like, hey, I'm gonna enjoy the game while it lasts because it's not gonna last. Everyone needs to just shut up and play the game. Well, I mean, that would be nice, but like I said, there's nothing wrong with disliking this season, so I think a lot of people need to shut up, but they don't necessarily need to play the game. I just don't understand what the big deal is, why people just can't take a break from Fortnite or just go play different games if you don't like the season. There's nothing wrong with that. As Clark and Jojo say, man, some people treat Fortnite like a religion, and it's crazy to me. It's a video game. Just take a break if you're not enjoying it. That's how I feel about it. But guys, there is something that I did want to point out to you guys, and it's an older video. You may have seen it, you may have not seen it. I'll show it on screen right now. It's perfect time to bring this back up. I don't want to make a brand new video on it, and it's the truth about Chapter 1 and OG Fortnite, because everybody wants OG Fortnite back, right? Hear my argument out over here. I'll see you over there, guys. Take care.